Thank you so much for staying with us. All Angles continues. Our focus this evening, property taxes. Now, before we hear what some property owners in Mandeville had to say, let's get some comments from our panel on what we've heard so far from members of the public. Mandy Duncan Price, let me start with you.
I think the segment was very powerful in hearing the personal experiences of people and their reactions to the very unexpected high increases to the property taxes. As you'd have seen, it is not that persons don't want to pay tax. I think that's a good sign about our maturity as a country, that people see the relevance of taxes, but the large increases, the onerous nature of them is the problem, and how it was implemented. And I think there's a lesson learned for us in governance about doing proper analysis of what proposed tax measures are, what they would be on different groupings, whether they're retired persons, low-income persons, inconsistent income persons like we saw, or even the middle class, so that government can really understand the impact and unintended consequences to make better policy. This is where the tax incidence analysis study would have been a useful tool for the government to have used within the Ministry of Finance before designing or before rolling out this tax package.
All right, we're going to come back to that, but Norman Grant, quick comments?
Yeah, but it was a very informative, session. I think what came across is that people were willing to pay tax, and which for me is a very important and game-changing move. But one of the commentators indicated that the government should have phased it in, and it just, for me, it's just a tax whose implementation has really gone very, very bad.
All right, we'll pick up that as well. Rose Vass.
Well, the last speaker, I think, said it all for me, summed it up, when he said, I'm Jamaican and the government cannot take my land. Right there and then, we see the desperation of a lot of Jamaicans out there in feeling threatened right now that what they have invested in, somewhere down the road, they might lose it. And that for me in itself is a no-no. And also that for me, as a Jamaican as well, I am also very fearful that one day if I cannot pay my property tax this year, then there are going to be arrears. And the arrears, they are going to build up over the years if my income doesn't increase.
Hold that thought for me. We'll come back to all of that. But first, let's go to Mandeville now. And some of the members of the public there were, if possible, even more outspoken.
Well, I have to laugh because those of us at my age and stage in life, we saw this coming when the promise of removing the income tax to the tune of 1.5 million. Fixed income persons like myself. My pension, I'm not ashamed to tell Jamaica, after 30-odd years in Ministry of Education, my pension comes at $50,000 a month. I am sure Mr. Holness or no other minister, whether of government, whether in opposition or not, they wouldn't be paying their helper $50,000 a month. They wouldn't have a helper. So what do they expect us to do? They haven't given us an increase. Neither side of the fence have given us an increase. I live in a townhouse. It was built in '96. Nothing has been done because you can't very well do anything much with a townhouse, except, of course, inside what you do. And it has moved. 5 years ago, it moved from 8.5 a year to 15.5 a year. And this new tax now has taken it to 25,500 a year.
So that's an increase by over 10,000.
That's right.
Now, we've spoken to persons who say the increase is not as bad as persons let it seem. What's your reaction to that?
They obviously are not feeling it. They are like the persons who would have gone to the recent car show and purchased their Porsche or their whatever at 19.5 million and over. And I feel if there are Jamaicans in Jamaica, which we know there are, who can afford to buy that sort of car, by all means then pay the country for the fact that you can afford to buy that. Give the little man down there who probably, like me, may have taught some of these very people, but yet today our only legacy is to be held down. I have one suggestion to this country, to the government. When people get to 65, just give them some arsenic to drink and pay the families to bury them. Don't bother to let them go on for years, like me and my colleagues and others. Understand? To suffer like this.
And you're obviously very upset, Miss Allen. I can hear it. What does this mean for your budget?
Well, let me tell you how it affects me. My mammogram is due. My dental appointment is due. I had one cataract done, so the other eye has to be done, but there's no money to do that. As for the gas, I only use my vehicle once a week. I go to church twice a week. I go to church, and like today, you see me out. I list all the things I have to do today, and I do them. Then I go home and I park the vehicle.
If a person gets a high assessment, that person will complain. If a person gets a reasonable assessment, that person will speak more balance. Like me, my property was valued at $2 million before. And they do a revaluation, and they told me that the valuation is $6 million now. I was paying $38,000 at $2 million value. Now I'm paying $50,000 at $6 million value. I don't have a problem with that.
For people who are on fixed incomes like myself, are severely impacted by it. I am responsible for 4 properties. Note I didn't say own, but I'm responsible for paying the taxes for them. And on an average, my taxes have gone up by, I would say, about 50%. In one case, there was a slight reduction. I can't figure out the percentage right now. However, my overall reaction is that as a civic-minded and patriotic Jamaican, like most of us are, we know that taxes are necessary to look after the business of the country. But this overwhelming increase, right, might have counterproductive impact on people's lives and the economy. Since the term phase it in was used in introducing the change, I think the indirect taxation could also have been phased in.
Let's speak to one property, or one of the 4 properties which you are responsible for. Tell me, how much were you paying and what are you paying now?
I was paying roughly $30,000 per year, and it has increased to 45, nearer to $50,000.
Before I close, we spoke with some persons earlier, and persons are saying the increase is not as bad. Persons are exaggerating and persons are making it seem worse than it really is for some persons. What do you say to that?
Those persons perhaps benefited from decreases. I can't believe anybody who was subjected to the increases would make such a statement.
It is ridiculous. No, none of these politicians or these people who are doing the taxes, they don't think about senior citizen. Senior citizen, you know, the little pension you get in or so, you can hardly survive by the pension. And the groceries, the medication, everything is sky high, ridiculously high. Cannot cope. It's stressing me out. Me can't sleep at night time.
You're saying the price is ridiculous. Tell me how much you were paying last year and what is the amount you'll be paying this year?
It was $90,000 last year, which was very high because my children had to help me to pay it. And now it's gone up to $136,400. I can't afford that. My children, they have their own obligation and their family. They cannot help me.
And you're bothered by this. You're angry. What's your reaction? Are you angry? Are you sad? What's your reaction?
I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. All of it. And with my age, I should be enjoying my old age. And now this is so stressful. I cannot sleep. Up to last night, I'm restless. I can't sleep. I'm thinking about it because next thing they eventually take away your place. And is my children help me to get it. I did not get it in Jamaica. And my children work abroad and help me to get it. And it's 2 jobs me always have to do. Into snow over there and now to come here. Jamaica never have nothing to offer. That's why we had to somebody help me out to go abroad. And I went abroad and was able with my children to procure to get this place. And now with this tax they heavily increase. It's bothering me now. My children are concerned. They're worried about me. It's tough.
I spoke to some persons this morning here in Mandeville, and they're saying that the increase is not as bad as persons are making it seem. You're obviously of a different view. Why?
Different view, honey. If it don't affect them, it affect me. It affect me personally and mentally. It affect me. So they must know somebody here because you know the corruption. And when people have connection, but me don't have no connection.
I know Jamaicans take pride in owning a piece of land. Okay? And for them to pay their just dues is okay. But this time, to me, it is exorbitant. For the number of years prior to now, I believe when it is done on a gradual basis, right, it does not feel it so hard as a heavy 200, 300 or 500% increase as it is now in some cases. So for me it is strenuous, even though you are asked to pay or given the privilege to pay 4 times per year, but it doesn't matter, you just pay it at the end of the year in full. So I'm asking and suggesting that it be looked into and some adjustments be made, although yes, I do know that the opportunity is there for you to appeal and such the like. But there again, I think it's a bit ill thought of at this time.
Tell me, Mr. Lynn, how much increase have you seen or are you seeing based on the records that you've went through?
All right. From memory, I can say that I have looked at about 4 so far, the bits of land. And I see a 220% increase in one. I see 300 plus in another. I can't say I see over 4. But from memory, I know some are over 200, some are over 300.
And these lands you speak of, where are they located?
Well, in Mandeville and in Christiana area, because I'm between both towns in the parish.
But we have persons complaining, saying this is very ridiculous and the government needs to roll it back. Do you agree with this?
Well, in cases, there's just to look at some, because in few cases, as I'm told, that there's a slight reduction. I've not gone through that yet. I've not experienced that yet. But the fact, as I've said before, reasonable taxes ought to be paid. And when it comes to land tax, to repeat, this is something that I say, those who own land, pay up, don't be a delinquent. When it is reasonable, pay. Right? Because that is what we know, that it is used, while it is used properly, to provide the amenities that we so seek, roads and water, etc.
Last year I paid 30,000. This year it's just under 40,000, 39 plus.
Now, tell me, Mr. Rowe, how do you feel about this increase?
Well, I feel very dissatisfied, and I speak for a lot of people that I've spoken to. There's a lot of people are complaining, and in fact, there are people out there that just cannot afford it. If they couldn't afford it when it was less, how can they afford it now? You know.
No, why are you so upset? Why are you so angry about this increase? Why?
Well, number one, I'm a minister, as a set of religion, and as you know, ministers didn't get a lot of pay. My pension is very small pension I get from our government, and you know.
Okay, let's go to the break, and then when we come back, we'll hear from our guests in studio. Remember, you can tweet me on this as well. It's DJ Miller JA. Back in a moment.